a good classmate, especially to our instructor, no other than Sir Jeremond Carlos. So, it's me, your student, sir, from Bachelor of Science in Social Work. My name is Lisa Bacani Felizarti from Section 2A. So, this day, I will going to recite of what I learned from Module 11 to 14. So, let's start in Module 11. So, Module 11 dealing about social welfare, social services, and social work. So, what is the definition of social welfare? So, social welfare, an organized concern of all people for all people. The organized system of social services and institution designed to aid individual and group to attain satisfying standard of life and health. So, in another definition of social welfare based on our module, include those law, like example dyan yung RA 9344 at RA 7610. And also, it includes program like Kalahe. And also, it includes benefits and services which assure or strengthen provision for meeting social needs recognized as basic to the well-being of the population and the better function of social order. So, lawmaker make salary standardization law for exam. In security, example of these are SSS, GSIS. Sa health naman, too much services na meron tayo sa health. Ito naman, include dito yung PhilHealth and other insurance that have. In housing, meron tayong services in NHA or National Housing Authority. In education naman, one of the policies yung libreng pag-aaral and allowance na binibigay. Social welfare involve many people with different competences. So, hindi lang social work yung involved dito. Hindi lang social work yung involved sa social welfare. Different profession involved it. Like doctors, lawyers, teachers, engineers, nurses, social worker, priest, psychologists, nutritionist, dentist, guidance, counselor, occupational therapist, etc. All that I mentioned earlier contribute their expertise to social welfare. So, yung mga nabanggit na yun kanina ay they have their own function and responsibilities sa social welfare. Since social welfare is meaningless without concrete demonstration of its concern for the well-being of human society through actual social services. So, ibig sabihin, ito yung pagbibigay ng relief goods, mga financial assistance, lahat ng mga natatanggap or mga napapakinabangan natin, yun ay social services. So, in social services, may dalawa tayong tinatawag. There are tangible and intangible. When we say tangible, ito yung mga services na nahahawakan natin like wheelchair, yung mga relief goods, yung housing, yung money, and so on. Unlike sa intangible services, ito naman yung example dyan, yung sa counseling. So, again, social welfare will be meaningless when having action services. So, kumbaga, magiging useless lang yung paggawa ng mga batas, yung paggawa ng mga programa without actual services. So, yun nga, sinasabi na magiging meaningless lang yung social welfare kapag may sinagawang actual services sa community, sa lipunan, ganun po. Now, let's move on to social work. So, social work is a profession concerned with the individual adjustment to his or her environment, groups, or a community in relation to the existing social situation. So, social work efforts are focused on either helping the individual cope with the demand of his or her environment by adapting to or modifying it or doing both. Social work is not a hit or miss or trial and error way of helping people, but a professional services which make us of scientific knowledge and skill. It follows a systematic process of engaging people in problem solving using both human and material resources. Introduce in a So, bago pa yan, social work nga pala ay nakikihiram ng mga tested na, gumagamit ng mga tested knowledge. So, kapag sinabi natin tested knowledge, ito yung mga subok na or napatunayan na. So, yun po. Social work is a practice and the broad field of social welfare, which has already been described. Not all social welfare setting, however. Social work setting, unless they employ trained social workers, they cannot be considered social work settings, only potential social work setting. Again, when we say social welfare, ito yung mga panlipunang kapakanan. So, gumagawa sila ng mga batas, ng mga institution at programa para sa mga tao. So, kapag sinabi nating institution, napapabilang dyan yung mga DSWD, MSWD, and too much institution na meron po. Sa programa naman, yung mga programs dyan like the for fees at marami pa pong iba. So, yun po. Kapag sinabi naman nating social services, ito yung mga panlipunang serbisyo. So, nagkakaroon ng actual services upang maging meaningless yung social welfare. So, ibig sabihin, kapag walang actual na services, wala namang kumbaga, hindi naman makikilala or hindi naman mapiperform ng maayos ng social welfare yung mga ginawang batas, yung mga ginawang programa para sa mga tao. So, kailangan kapag may social welfare, mayroon namang social services at magkakaroon dapat ng social action. Actual action. Next, social work. Kapag sinabi nating social work, sa madaling salita, ito yung ating profession or kurso. Now, let's continue to the Module 12. So, Module 12, it's all about needs, problem, and social provision. So, social welfare serve as the institution through which social are responsible to a variety of human needs and problems. The question is, what is the difference between needs and problem? So, human beings everywhere have certain common needs. Perhaps the best known theory about this is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This theory ranked 5 needs. The first and the most basic being mainly biologically, physically needs like food, air, water, sleep, breeze, clothing, sex, and elimination. The other needs and the order of importance are the needs for protection, safety, and needs for love, belonging, the needs for self-esteem, and the need for self-actualization. These universal human needs can be grouped into 2 major categories, material needs and non-material needs. A problem is simply can unmet needs. It may be a universal problem affecting masses of people like poverty, disease, but it has characteristics unique to the person, confronted with the problem in terms of its causes as well as consequences. A problem is often a manifestation of a dysfunction in society, institution for meeting human needs. This brings us to the concept of social provision, or how society meets the need of its member. The underlying assumption behind social provision is the fact that there will be beyond their own capacity to solve. society responds to such unmet needs or problem through the following ways. So first, yung individual and group effort. So kapag sinabi natin individual and group effort, this refer to systematic and voluntary effort undertaken by individuals, groups, in response to the unmet needs of people in a community. Next naman, yung major societal institution. Kapag sinabi nating major societal institution, which have their design, rules, and responsibility for meeting human needs. The family, the church, the government, cooperative, and labor union are major institution. And kapag sinabi naman nating social agency, whether under public or private auspices, a social agency is a major provision for helping people with their problems. It is an integral part of a community institutionalized network of services for its member. The profession social worker is in the Philippines usually operated within a social agency setting. We should stress at this point that dole out cannot be equated with social work or even with social welfare. The dole out, according to dictionary, means aims or a giving out of money or goods as an act of charity. It is given out of kindness or some other consciousness or unconsciousness motivation on the part of the giver rather than or the point recipient being deserving of aid. Now, let's proceed to the Module 13. So, Module 13 it's all about goal of social welfare. So, why do we need social welfare? Why should people mind other people business? These are the reasons. So, first, the humanitarian and social justice goal. Next, social control goal, economic development goal. Ito naman yung halimbawa ng social services which pursue economic development goals are: first, social services which directly contribute to increase productivity among individuals, group, and community. Example, counseling services to facilitate the adjustment of worker to industrial setting and skill training for the unemployed and underemployed. And next, example of social services which pursue economic development goal is social services which relieve the burden of dependence on adult workers, on the very young, the very old, the sick, the disabled. Example are the daycare center and homes for the elderly. And another example, social services which prevent or counteract the disrupted effect of urbanization and industrialization on family and community life, and help identify and develop local leadership and communities. Specific example of these are family life, education services, leadership, training program, and local community self-help programs. Now, let's proceed to the Module 14. So, it's all about rules, function, skills, tools, and technique used by social workers or practitioner in working with communities. So, let's us learn the role of a community worker. So, first, advocate, broker. You as a social worker, you become part of group activities such as acting as a broker or presenting the group in a network meeting or in a specific decision as part of their concern. Next, initiator. Next, guide. Next, researcher. Next, planner. Next, intervener. As a social worker, you can intervene in behalf of your clients. Next, consultant, providing expert knowledge and information to achieve plan goals and objectives. You can also be a consultant when people or group are already self-sustaining. Next, enabling to community to engage and establishing goals, objectives, and setting priorities. Next, educator, transfer knowledge and skill to community leaders, including the process of building social awareness among the people and community. Last, helper. When we say helper, helping community groups identify their problems, needs, and take effective action on their planned goals and objectives to solve their needs and aspirations. Now, let us learn the function of community worker. Here, the function of community worker or community organizer. They have 5 functions. First, fact finding. Second, establishment of standard. Coordination, education, support, and participation. Lastly, program development. Now, let's proceed to the knowledge a community worker should possess. So first, power instructor in a community, planning process, policy formation, problem solving and decision making, situation analysis, management of power, social legislation, group processes, human and group behavior. So all that I mentioned earlier is knowledge a community worker should possess. With regard to the knowledge a community worker should possess, always remember for peace means great, and skill a community worker should possess always remembers cervic fall claps. With regard to the attitudes, always remember the 4A, respect twice, 2 times, commitment, recognition. Now, let us know the qualities a community worker should possess. They have 6 qualities of a co-worker. First, value-centered. Second, responsive. Third, actual-oriented. Fourth, skillful. Fifth, conscientious builder. And lastly, accountability. With regard to the techniques used by the community worker, always remember SSS or RP. Here's the techniques used by community worker: structuring, situation analysis, sociodrama, role playing, and lastly, problem analysis. So that's all, sir. That's all, classmate. I hope that you can understand my short recitation regarding from Module 11 to Module 14. So, thank you for teaching, sir. Thank you for the knowledge that I learned. So, that's all, sir. Again, this is your student from Bachelor of Science in Social Work. My name is Lisa Bacani Felisarti from Section 2A. Thank you, sir.